Hey everyone, welcome to the Green Library project where we're going to take this old industrial building and we're going to renovate it into a library. I'm going to be kind of working with you through this process and getting everything set up. So hopefully you have access to this file. If you're in my class, I've given you access. If you're not in my class, then you'll probably have to get access from it from elsewhere. But let's go ahead and get started. I always think it's a good idea to see the floor plan and see what we're working with. So with this structure, I want you in your properties browser to open up the ground floor. So I'm going to double click on that and zoom out just a little bit to take a look and see what our ground floor looks like. Now it's been labeled pretty nicely. We got 72 feet in the length direction and 120 feet in the other direction. We got three existing doorways, as well as some larger doorways, which were probably used to dock in materials. Now, unfortunately, this doorway here has a I-beam in place, so that column doesn't make the most sense in that position, so we might have to do some alterations to some of those columns. Now, we do want to try and keep as much of this building as intact as possible, because since it is a renovation and it is for the community, we can assume that we don't have a very large budget to renovate this, and we also don't want to risk damaging the structural framework of the building and removing something that could essentially cause problems down the road. So we're going to try to be as non-invasive as possible. Okay, so I always think it's a good idea to create some kind of a rough diagram before you get started with the essential components of the building. Now, you might have noticed that this essentially has two stories to it, which it does. The first floor is a complete floor, and the second floor is a partial floor. It's only about half the building. And this space over on this side, where that second floor doesn't cover, we're going to use that as our green roof portion. So we'll be designing it with the vegetation and the green work and all that stuff in place. So right now, let's focus on the ground floor, and then we'll move up to the second floor. So with the ground floor, what I recommend doing first is drawing some kind of a rough diagram. Now you could do a bubble diagram to start if you'd like, but then you need to make sure you have the essentials in that plan before you start piecing it together. So this was something I drew in Paint. I think anyone could draw something like this in Paint or something equivalent, and it's just making sure I have the right components and how I want my library to essentially get pieced together. So in the center here, I have a circular desk. Right behind that, I have the children's library. I feel like it's very important that the children are always visible by the staff that are working there. So the staff will be able to look through, or not look through, but like look and make sure everyone in that area is fine. Over in this open space here will be more accessible book stacks, but those will just be book stacks for adults and teenagers and all that. So they'll have reading content available to them. On this side right now, I'm imagining the history room over here, just showing some history of the area and just like kind of a museum of sorts that can get updated from time to time. And then two meeting rooms next to it. Now these two meeting rooms will be different styles of meeting rooms. So one will be more classroom oriented, while one will be more of a professional oval desk type meeting room. On the other side, and this is possibly open to consideration, I'm going to have the stairs and elevator leading to the second floor on this side. And if you think about how it was divided on the previous one, like the second floor had to be on, this half of the library. So having the stairs and elevator on this half doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I might rework it in a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Then we have our mechanical room, which will have our water heater, as well as our essential equipment, electrical panels, things like that for the building. The two restrooms over here, and they're placed on this side because on the second floor we also will require a public restroom, and if we set it up like this, then right above them on the second floor we can just map out two identical bathrooms. So those will meet the restroom requirements, and it won't require a lot of plumbing or a lot of additional plumbing because they're in the same area, just vertically higher. And then to the side there, we got our staff workroom, kitchenette, restroom, and head librarian's office. So everything dealing with the staff, I want to keep it in the same area, close together so it can all be addressed in the same area, and there's not a lot of walking around or useless motion in this library. In the front area over here, we're going to have a vestibule, and that vestibule is just going to essentially allow people into the library without actually giving them access to the library. So it's one of those things that if it's raining and you want to get in, but you're not actually in the library because there will be an additional doorway here before you're actually let in, then the vestibule is the way to go. Okay, we'll have definitely some kind of garage area, like I mentioned, as well as 1 or 2 emergency exits in case of a fire. So that's kind of where my rough diagram kind of builds off. So I want you to think about if you want your stuff there or if you want to change how they look. But whatever you do, take a few moments, pause this video and do that. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how that all translated into that Revit file.